we have the technological possibility of making everybody on earth the enjoyer of an independent income. We can't do it because people say, where's the money going to come from? Because they think money makes prosperity. It's the other way around. It's physical prosperity, which has money as a way of measuring it. But people think money has to come from somewhere, like hydroelectric power or lumber or iron, and it doesn't. Money is something we invent.
Everything is about to change. So the question is, are you prepared? Now, I started off this video with that specific quote from the great philosopher Alan Watts because today's money isn't as foolproof as we'd like it to be. The system is broken. Inflation will never stop being an issue, your purchasing power will decrease year after year, and as time moves on, money will spike conflict in terrible ways.
But we'll have to see. If the sanctions don't work, we'll have to go phase 2. Phase 2 may be a very rough thing. It may be very, very unfortunate for the world. But hopefully the sanctions will work. We have tremendous support all around the world for what we're doing.
That's where blockchain technology steps in and fixes everything. In 2007, an unknown coder known by the alias Satoshi Nakamoto began working on the most important piece of technology since the invention of the internet, the blockchain. This distributed ledger would allow for a new kind of money in which the world had never seen. So thanks, Satoshi. He released a paper online in 2008 titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system describing a decentralized currency unrestricted by the government and ruled by the people, integrating a system where every piece of information would be validated amongst the public. This kind of technology ensured that every transaction would be 100% unchanged and accurate. Most importantly, it finally cut out the middleman, making you your own bank.
You know how long it takes a working man to save $5,000? Just remember this, Mr. Potter, that this rabble you're talking about, they do most of the working and paying and living and dying in this community. Well, is it too much to have them work and pay and live and die in a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle.
The year after, he would release the first software for Bitcoin, which sparked politically fueled groups of developers to take interest. This wasn't just a pursuit for a better currency, this was a war against the system as it stood. As he launched the network, it became a community effort on blogs and forums to help perfect this new technology. For the greater good of the project, Satoshi would finally take his hands off the code in 2010, still guiding the community in the background until he would allow for a non-profit corporation coined the Bitcoin Foundation in 2012 to standardize and promote the use of Bitcoin for the world's benefit.
This was Satoshi on scaling. This is actually the second public message, I think, ever from Satoshi on the crypto mailing list, where he said a typical transaction should be about 400 bytes. Each transaction has to be broadcast twice, so let's say 1 kilobyte per transaction. Visa processed 37 billion transactions in 2008, 100 million transactions per day. That many transactions would take 100 gigabytes of bandwidth, or the size of 12 DVDs or 2 HD quality movies, or about $18 worth of bandwidth at current prices. If the network were to get that big, it would take several years, and by then, sending 2 HD movies over the internet would probably not seem like a big deal. We're there.
Bitcoin is world-changing in a lot of ways that people don't even realize. For instance, lack of debt. The system we're currently a part of is crumbling under our feet, and it's doing so at a scary rate. Spending is increasing more than it ever has, but where is the money coming from? There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, no more, no less, that's it. We're not printing out billions of dollars to cover banks every month, which, by the way, many banks have been doing for years because there are no banks. You are the only one in charge of your own money. So not having to worry about going into debt as a country is impressive, but what's even more impressive is how that makes cryptocurrency extraordinarily anti-war. If we're not printing money, we're not going into debt. If we're not in debt, we're not borrowing from countries that are supposed to be our allies, forming distrust and turning them into our enemies when the government can't pay them back. So who are you going to trust in this new world of money? You see, that's just the problem. You shouldn't have to trust any one person. So with the blockchain, your transactions, your funds, everything is encrypted, checked, and dispersed amongst a public ledger. So not just one, but thousands or even millions of computers can verify exactly what's going on, keeping in constant communication. At the end of each one of these computers is a human being who is rewarded with new cryptocurrency as long as he or she plays by the rules. We call them miners. Any tampering will be immediately noticed on the network. Their input will be treated as useless, and they will not be rewarded. The network governs itself. It plays by fair public rules that cannot be broken. So this process becomes trustless, and that's beyond incredible. So yeah, becoming a miner is quite the investment, but people do it, not just because it's profitable in the long term, but because it makes them a part of something bigger than all of us. The hope that one day, your money will be yours alone to control, and it'll be a world that we all truly built together. So welcome to the future, and Satoshi, wherever you are, the thousands of developers working day and night for a brighter tomorrow, thank you for laying down the foundation for a system that not only empowers the world with the tools necessary to move in a direction that is no longer self-destructive, but at its core, gives us back our freedom.
So you remember the Great Depression? When there was a slump? And what did we have a slump of? Money. There was no less wealth, no less energy, no less raw materials than there were before, but it's like you came to work on building a house one day, and they said, sorry, you can't build this house today, no inches. What do you mean no inches? Just inches. We don't mean we got inches of lumber, yes, we got inches of metal, we've even got tape measures. But there's a slump in inches as such, you see? And people are that crazy. They can have a depression. Because they've got no inches to go around, or no dollars. That's all a lot of nonsense.